A very warm welcome to each of you, and thank you for taking time out to catch us live. At SixSox, we believe that each one of us has the capability to be a winner. We welcome all of you with open arms as our goal is to serve, learn, share, and reach beyond. In addition, we are here for you with any assistance that you or your organization might need on a group or individual basis. SixSox classrooms are where we deliver quality to the best of our capabilities. Do reach out to us to know more. Today, we bring to you our third session in the Balance series. With over 20 years of experience in the financial services, of which 16 years has been in learning and development, Hariharan Iyer trained in 26 countries physically and virtually over the years to better understand the nuances involved in face-to-face and virtual interfaces. He believes that the use of technology is the key to a successful learning experience. With delivering impactful behavioral, soft skills, and risk programs, amassing numerous certifications, Hariharan has been acknowledged as one among the most effective facilitators in the learning and development arena, where he continues to positively impact people and organizations. At SixSox, he holds the title of our most eligible bachelor with his irresistible smile. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Hariharan Iyer with his talk titled The Loudest Noise.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to different parts of the people, different parts of the world, people who are watching in. Thank you very much, Deepa, for that brilliant introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, the title for today's talk is The Loudest Noise. Have you ever wondered what that loudest noise could be? Is it a symphony that is playing too loud to the ear, which is painfully loud, one, or is it some noise which is purely cacophony, which is too painful to the ear because it's completely out of rhythm? Or is it some deafening silence, which is, again, the loudest noise? Join me in this journey today to find out what is that loudest noise. And if we are able to understand that and master it, trust me, we would become much better individuals. To understand more, let me share my slides with you. Ladies and gentlemen, this is how sound travels in the form of waves. So any form of sound that reaches us from any distance usually travels to us in these waves. Therefore, sound is something that we can't see and we can only hear. Some sounds can be heard by a few of us. Some sounds cannot be heard by us. For example, there are some decibel levels that we cannot hear at all because those can be heard by animals, and some decibel levels that can be heard only by us and cannot be heard by the others. That's what I meant by some couldn't be heard by us, some cannot be heard by the others. Now, when I mean the loudest noise, it is those noises that we can hear. It's not to do anything with what the others can hear or cannot hear. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not sure if you have seen this picture before. Now, on your screens, you see a frog that is crowned. For all the ladies and gentlemen who are singles here, this is not a prince or a princess whom you could kiss and have as a human. This is that frog which is supposed to be, I'm sure many of you all have heard, the deaf frog. There's a very nice story on the deaf frog. Now, I want you to quickly go into your chat box and write there if you've heard of the deaf frog or you've not heard. So just write yes, that means I know you've heard. If you write no, that means I know that you have not heard. A quick 10-second or 15-second if you can take and write quickly on your chat box. So I see some who have said yes, some saying no, some who have said they have never even heard it. Brilliant. Now, what is this deaf frog story? For the benefit of all those people who have not heard and for the benefit of the others who have heard it, let's take a sneak peek, or rather a dive into this particular story. The deaf frog story is like this. Once upon a time, a long time ago, in a jungle, there was this lion king. The lion, as we all know, was the king of all the animals around. One day, the lion's chief advisor, who was a very old and intelligent jackal, passed away. The king decides to have his next advisor to be chosen. So he called in all the animals in an assembly and announced that whoever can climb a particular tree, which was the tradition from years that was going on, if somebody could climb that tree, the person who climbs it up would become the chief advisor. Now, all the animals were trying, and there was this one frog who was there around. This frog suddenly all of them came out from the group and started to leap and jumped and jumped and jumped and ultimately reached right to the top of the tree. Everybody was amazed as to how this frog reached there. When they asked the frog, how did you reach there? The frog did not have an answer, or rather, he couldn't answer. Somebody in the audience actually said, you know what? This frog actually is deaf. Now, the frog, after being deaf, climbed up that tree. The reason, we will see how did the frog reach there. In fact, a few of my friends here who are logged in must be still asking themselves, but how did the frog even climb up that tree? The answer you would get soon. Remember this, that frog did something that we all can do. It's all about this particular machine that we have in our heads, the brain. The brain is said to be a terrific servant, but a terrible master. If we are able to make this particular machine or this particular muscle work to our strength, trust me, it will function just like you see that 8-cylinder engine there. It will give you the power of that particular engine to speed and scream through forward in life. The problem is that this engine sometimes is not able to function to its fullest. If we were able to help that machine of ours, that is this, to function at its fullest, believe me, we can become just like that frog. The question is, how do we do it? And here's the secret. Ladies and gentlemen, this machine, when it starts to work, is as silent as we can ever hear it, because this is where the power is coming in from. You never even know that your brain is working, but it is the one that powers our body. That means whatever we do, whatever we say, however we behave, all comes in from this particular muscle. And that's why I call it the powerhouse. Having said that, we need to understand that this powerhouse is constantly in this particular picture that you see. There is that amount of struggle, that amount of fight. Now you must be wondering why there is a fight. Let's assume that that left hand is all those thoughts that are there inherently in your brain, and that right hand is all those thoughts and stimulus that is hitting you from the outside. When they come together, naturally, there is that amount of resistance that is there and that friction that is happening within the brain. The question is, why does this friction happen? And if that friction is happening, can we put this friction to rest? The biggest friction I know that I've heard of people from is usually the husband-wife relationship. Imagine Lot of noise around, friction. Wife says something, husband says something. In fact, I must place a caveat here. Please don't try and use the deaf frog mechanism in a married relationship. Please, it might go the other way around. You might not reach the top of the tree. So please be careful. Nonetheless, coming back to where we were, the struggle. If you look at this, I call this the struggle. The reason is your brain is trying to process something. At the same time, you're getting a lot of stimulus from the outside, which is completely leaving the person in a spot of no man's land. What to do? Now, why does this happen? So let me introduce you to something that has been coined by the late, in fact, Dr. Stephen Covey. He called it the circles of life. The first circle looks something like this. So you have a big gray circle and you have a darker circle within. And within this dark circle, we have four things of our life. We have our family, we have our habit, we have our passion and our work. Now, this is where our life is revolving around. On this, you find that there are four other things that start to bother us. We have what others are doing. What do others think of me? The other threats that are there around, and what do I think about the others? Now, what's happening is all of these start putting pressure on this smaller circle. And as a result, this smaller circle starts to shrink. On the contrary, let me introduce you to another circle. The second circle is like this. You have the same big circle here. However, the smaller circle in this case is now much bigger. And in this case, if you notice, the same things are there. You have your family, you have your life, we have our attitude, our enthusiasm, and our passion. And if you notice, in this case, the smaller circle is pushing towards the outer circle. Now, go into the chat box and I'm going to place a question for you. Quick 10 or 15 seconds. Which circle would you want to be in? Would you want to be in the left circle or the right circle? You can just place L or an R or right, left or right. That's fine. So I've got some saying right, R, R, a lot of answers on the right. Some of just one or two in the left. Right. So most of them are on the right. Now, these two circles, as I told you, late Dr. Stephen Covey named them as the first one, the left circle, to be the circle of concern. Why is it known as the circle of concern? Because we are squeezing our life, taking into account everything that is happening around us. Because all that is happening around us is not in our control. The second circle, he called it the circle of control. Why? Because we have control of our life, we have control of our family, we have control over our attitude, enthusiasm, and our passion. Dr. Stephen Covey went further and said that it is every human's challenge to move from the circle of concern to the circle of control. This is what is the struggle that you saw in the previous slide between the brains, between those thoughts that are there in the brain. So you have the concern, you have the control. When they are fighting together, you notice that there is friction. How do we put this to rest? And how can we move from this circle of concern to this circle of control? What we need to do is we need to bring in that balance. In fact, Balaji, who spoke about 4 weeks ago, or rather 3 weeks ago, had introduced a concept of asking us if we are tilting. We have to bring in that balance in our life. We have to bring in that calmness in our life to balance it so that we do not tilt the other way. That means that balance can be attained here in the brain. How do we do it? How do we bring in that balance? In fact, Hariharan, who spoke 2 weeks ago, or rather 3 weeks ago, said that we can bring in a lot of changes in the way we speak. And those changes have to come in from here. They cannot come in from the throat. So it's all about the brain. How do we work this up? So when you have this struggle, to bring down that struggle, to settle it down, you need to be calm. This is the secret. I told you I'll give you the secret. We need to calm down. We need to slow down. We need to ask ourselves. We need to stop, possibly just pause, and then take that extra breath before we get into the race again. However, once you take that breath and you have stopped and you calm down, what should you do when you are calming down? That's when we need to look at how we can use those few moments that we have to our strength. Now, when we calm down, what is it should we do? That is when we have to do something known as me time. Look for I, me, and myself. What is it that I can do for myself? What is it that I can do as I? And what is it that I can do for a me? Usually when I coach a lot of people who come to me, they ask me, you know what? I don't have me time. When they get the me time, they tell me, I really don't know what to do with the time. This is where the problem starts. We have the time at our disposal, however, we do not know how to use it. We struggle to bring that time, to actually manufacture that time. I'm calling it manufactures because you do something out of the blue to get that time. And when we do not use it properly, we actually have wasted it. And the moment we waste it, we feel something known as lonely. When that time is there and we do not know how to use it, we are lonely. When somebody is feeling lonely, you are usually in that circle of concern. You are thinking of everything around you that is not in your control, and we are worried, and that's when anxiety starts to set in. On the other side is when somebody is completely alone, but is completely with themselves. They are not anxious, they are calm, they are relaxed. They are thinking what they can do for themselves. They know what is in their control, and they also know how they can go about those challenges that are being posed in life. Now, if you believe that the person who's alone does not have challenges, that's the wrong thought. So everybody has got challenges, whether they are lonely or alone. It's only how the person alone deals with those challenges. Once we have got to this zone, so the zone that we need to move from, I told you, concern to control, is actually feeling lonely to feeling alone but in control. Now, once we have understood that we need to move to being alone but under control, we need to know how do we achieve it. This is where I tell a lot of people, please pursue something that you've always wanted to, because that is the direction that we all need to take if we want to be alone and still want to be in control. That direction is nothing but passion. Pursue the passion. Somebody asked me, how do you define passion? And I said, when something gets your heart to sing, that is passion. That means you love doing something. Many of us in our life do not have the chance to do what we love. We often end up loving what we do. So this is the opportunity. When you have that small amount of me time, grab that opportunity and do something that we love. It could be anything. It could be sport. It could be photography. It could be just sitting down and reading a book. The second thing that we can do, and I picked this up from one of my mentors. He said, in fact, he must be watching. His name is Frank. He said, you know what, Hari? The secret to always ensuring that you are in control is to try to learn something new, because you upskill yourself. Once you keep learning and you upskill, you are automatically in control. When you learn, when you are upskilling yourself, you would notice that you will challenge yourself. And this is where a friend of mine by name Cheryl Pinto told me something. She said, every time you do something new and you challenge yourself, you discover that facet of yourself or that sphere of that photo of your life that you never knew you had. So pursue your passion. Let's all pursue our passion, because that will help us to move from that circle of concern to that circle of control. Because that is the only way we can make it. Because ultimately, when we keep doing this on a regular basis, repeatedly, the noise will always be there. We cannot silence it. What we can do is definitely work on bringing in a habit that will kill or maybe bring the noise of that particular bring the levels of the noise down. Because at the end of the day, as I told you, we will not be able to zeroize the noise. It will keep coming, because only noise is the one that's keeping us behind. And if we are able to overcome that noise, believe me, we all will be like that deaf frog. And that can be done only when we get there with a habit. So let's form some very strong habits of pursuing our passion. Let's not give it up. Because at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, habit is just like this matchstick. You light the first one, it will keep lighting. We do not have to worry. It is a chain reaction. Just like how I learned to wake up early in the morning. My father used to set an alarm and kept setting it for about 30 days. And then on, I never had a problem of waking up. That is habit creation. Make it a habit, make it a point to do it. And then you'd notice that it is a chain reaction and it is completely unstoppable. Because once we change habits, we can definitely change our lives. And that is the secret to where we want to be. That deaf frog did exactly that. The deaf frog was watching over the years how the king used to select his or her advisor. When his chance came, all he did was just replicated what the others did. Climb up the tree. Because he had not heard anything, he could only see. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to be the deaf frog, remember, we should not have all those negativity and that noise around to get to us. All we need to do is focus and move forward. That will help us to be the next deaf frog. Deaf, not in little terms, but definitely the deaf frog. That will give us the focus in our lives so that we can see further, we can see clearer, and more importantly, we can focus on our future.
Thank you, Mr. Hariharan, for this interesting session. For those of you with us today, if there are any unanswered queries, please write back to us on our email ID and we shall revert to you with the speaker's response. We are happy to announce that we have launched SixSox Community, our tiny bit to contribute to the society with the support of Mr. Venkat, known as the Pencil Man of UAE. With this, we now incorporate one alternate SixSox Saturday as a SixSox community classroom and hope to have your support throughout. We thank you for having attended this session. Always remember, SixSox Minds is here to serve, learn, share, and reach beyond. We're also here for you and your organization to identify talents and help nurture them. We listen and address your requirement. Do reach out to us on sixsoxminds@gmail.com for this and more. On that note, see you, au revoir, adios, masalama, fir milenge.